Hey everyone, Shane here with etrailer.com. Today I have a 2018 Chevrolet Silverado 1500. I'm going to walk through how to install Roadmaster's diode wiring kit. Diode wiring kit is going to be one of the 6 main components needed to flat tow this vehicle. The other 5 are going to be your base plate, which attaches to the chassis of the vehicle to give you that solid connection point for your tow bar. The other one's going to be a tow bar. Tow bar is a solid connection point between the base plate on your towed vehicle and your motorhome. Safety cables, which are a secondary safety device. Your diode wiring, of course. Braking system, which is required in any vehicle being flat towed behind a motorhome. And then, of course, the 6th component needed for this vehicle is a battery disconnect, because the vehicle requires battery to be disconnected when it's put in tow mode. That being said, our diode kit is going to allow the motorhome to transfer light signals back to our vehicle so that everybody knows what we're doing, whether it's driving at night, braking, or turning. It allows us to use our factory lights for those signals. The other types of kits out there, you have bulb and socket. There's also magnetic ones. They'd be kind of hard to put on this vehicle because a lot of this stuff up here is plastic. There's not really anywhere to get them to mount. Plus with those, you have a bunch of wiring that you have to route over top of your vehicle, and then you got to find somewhere to store them after that. Bulb and socket, you actually got to drill a hole into the back of the taillight, which I really don't prefer putting a hole back there. That's why a diode wiring kit is probably my top choice. Diodes are going to attach the factory wiring behind each taillight, and they're not only going to protect the factory wiring from feedback. So if there's a wiring issue between the taillight and where it's connected to the motorhome, the diodes are going to stop it from getting to the factory wiring on the vehicle itself. As far as the installation process, pretty simple and straightforward. This particular kit is going to come with 4-pole plugs on each end of the long length of wire that we're going to run from front to back. The reason they do that is if a motorhome doesn't have a 4-pole plug, you cut off 3 foot off the back side, add it onto the motorhome, and then it comes with a tether to go in between the 4-pole plug on the front of this vehicle or your towed vehicle and the back of your motorhome. In most cases with newer motorhomes, most of them come with a 7 and 4-pole or just a 7-pole. And most people are going with 6-pole plugs. You can find the 6-pole plugs here at eTrailer, which in this case, this is what we did. Now we're going over some of the features, walk through how to get it installed. We're going to start here at the front of the vehicle. Actually, you can start in the front or the back. Directions tell you can start at the back at one of the lights. I find it easier to start in the front. One of your 4-pole ends. You want to get an idea of where you're going to mount it. I think I might mount this right on the bottom of the license plate here. So we can come drill a small hole through the back of the bumper and get that through, and we'll be able to mount it there. To run it back, you want to make sure you're staying away from anything hot or moving. Depending on the braking system that you're putting in, if the braking system requires you to tap into this wire, you're going to have to run it up into the engine compartment and then down and then back, which is how this is ran. What we did is ran it right up this corner, right up into the engine compartment, made a little loop, zip tied it, and then came down right back here. We have factory wiring that runs from front to the back all along the frame rail. So you can see kind of where we got it running here. Went up above the bed there, or below the bed, above the spring pack here. We have factory lines that run right up here, all the way back to here. Now what we're going to do is we're going to separate the green wire from the yellow, brown, and white wire. We're going to separate it all the way up to where our wire comes out at the top. This is going to have to run across over to the passenger side for our right brake and turn signal. We're also going to be using a brown wire as a jumper to run across and go over to our passenger side for the running lights. But first, we're going to get the driver's side hooked up, and then we'll run our other 2 wires across. We're going to take a T15 Torx pick. We're going to lower our tailgate. We're going to have 2 bolts here that hold our taillight in place. It might be a little bit difficult to pop these out. Just kind of work with it. If you have a little bit of a difficult time, if you reach up from the bottom, you can kind of reach back in this edge. If you can reach up that high, kind of help push these out. They're little tabs that lock into the sides here. Once you get it out, disconnect the light, push up on this red tab here, push down on this black one. This one will just twist out. And we'll set our taillight aside. Next, we'll get our wires pulled up. There's a hole right here. Pull them up. Took a zip tie and zip tied it to this factory wiring to my taillight, just so it stays up and tight. Now what we'll do is we're going to separate these. Down to the zip tie. White one is going to be a ground wire, so we'll be able to cut it short, and we can put a self-tapper anywhere in here on this metal surface. This is going to be for running lights. This is going to be for our left brake and turn. What we need to do is we need to strip back this wire loom. And we're going to have to test the wires to determine what wires we're going to be using. Now we'll test out, determine which wires we're going to be using. We're looking for the brake signal, off, on. So it's going to be this yellow wire with the blue stripe is going to be our brake and turn signal. Running lights, off, on, off, which is going to be this purple wire with the gray stripe. We're going to do that same thing on the opposite side because the colored wires are going to be different. Once you determine that, we can start installing the diodes and get our wire connected. I'm going to start with my brake and turn signal. Yellow wire with the blue stripe. We'll cut the factory wire. Strip each end back. Put on a blue spade connector from one of the diodes onto each one of the wires. Diode, single side is going to go towards the plug, double side is going to go in towards the vehicle. You've now just recompleted that circuit. We're going to take our yellow wire, which is our brake and turn signal from our diode wiring. We're going to cut it down, strip it back, add a blue spade connector, add it right here into the other side. This is going to allow us to use our factory tail lights on our vehicle for the running lights, brakes, turn signals coming from the motorhome. Once you get one done, we'll work on the running light signal. It'll be our purple and gray. We'll do the same thing here. Difference here is our brown wire. We're going to cut it. And the end we just cut off, we're going to strip back both ends of this. Put these two together. We're going to add on our yellow spade connector. This one's going to go here. The extra wire is going to be our jumper wire to go over to the passenger side for our running light signal. So we'll feed that back down. Do the same hole where we ran our wiring up. I'm going to take these on the back side. There's two-sided tape. going to take them, we're going to stick them together. And I'm going to zip tie them right to this factory wiring here. Our white wire, as I mentioned earlier, we can pretty much ground it anywhere on a metal surface. I'm going to cut it to length. This looks like it's probably going to be the easiest place to get to. We can hold on to the extra wire in case we need it. Add it on the ring terminal. And we can take our self-tapper that comes in our kit. We'll be able to get it in right here. Now the green and brown wire that has to extend across, brown wire is probably not going to be long enough. You're going to have to extend it. The extra wire that you cut off from either your ground or your yellow wire up above, you can use that to extend it, and then you still have some extra if your green wire doesn't happen to make it. What I did is I had some green and brown wire laying around here, so I just used it. But we ran right across the top of our hitch, straight across, and then up to the taillight pocket the same way we did on our driver's side. The only difference between making our connections on our passenger side than our driver is we're going to have our brake and turn signal and then one running light signal, or one running light wire. We're not going to have two of them. So the wire color differences on our passenger side from our driver's side is our green and brown are going to be our brake and turn signal. Gray with a black stripe is going to be our running light signal. Now we're going to test out our wiring using an alternate power source. This is going to simulate being hooked up to your RV. Running lights, left turn, brake lights, right turn. Now with our 4-pole plug at the front, as I mentioned earlier, we need to determine where we're going to mount it. I'm going to mount it here at the bottom of the license plate. Instead of drilling a hole through this plastic panel, I'm going to run it underneath. We can mount it like that, and then I can zip tie the rest of this up tight in the back here, right behind the bumper, and just put some wire loom on it. That way we don't have any extra holes that we don't need, and it's not going to look bad with just a little bit of wire loom there. Now, this wiring kit is going to have a 4-pole end on each side. If you don't have 4-pole on your motorhome, you would cut 3 foot off the one side, wire it into the motorhome, and then you have the tether to go between the two. If you currently have 4-pole and you're going to be using this, you're just going to mount it where you choose. As I mentioned, I'm going to mount it right here on the bottom of the license plate. Instead of drilling a hole through this to feed this whole thing through, I'm actually going to zip tie my wire up behind the bumper, and I'll just mount a bracket right there, and I can run some wire loom on this. That way we don't have any extra holes in the front of our vehicle, and it'll still look clean. In our case here, we're actually going to be adding a 6-pole plug. So we're going to be cutting this off, adding the 6-pole plug, and mounting it in the same place. So I changed my mind on how I was going to run this wire. I decided there was enough space behind the bracket or license plate bracket to drill a small hole so that it stays hidden, and I can run my wires right down through it and into the back of my plug. Now I'm not going to attach these just yet because I will be also adding a charge line, a battery charge line to this vehicle, and it's going to have to run to the back of the plug as well, and I'm going to run it through the same hole. The 6-pole plugs, if you decide to add one, you can find those here at eTrailer on the back side. It tells you what wire goes with what. Once you've tested it all, you've got it mounted where you want it to be mounted, you're basically ready to go. You can move on to the next step of installing any of your other components for your flat tail setup. It's going to do it for a look at and installation on the Roadmaster Diode wiring kit on a 2018 Chevrolet Silverado 1500.